Hello, guys. I'm going to be starting a new series. So it's going to be basically how I do my troubleshooting, how I go over my board view as well as my schematic, how I relate in real time between my board, the board that I'm working on, and then how I draw information from the schematic of the board, as well as how I use the board view. As you guys know, in the repair field, one has to be able to understand how to use the schematic because it is your ultimate guide, as well as how you can translate that information in your board view. Now, basically, what you do need to do a repair, a successful board repair. Number one is you need to be able to use a multimeter. Now, I classify this into you have basic advanced and you have advanced. So with basic advance, you can actually carry out a board repair, provided you are able to go over all of the requirements of the basic advance. So the series it's going to comprise of how you can relate the data from your multimeter to your actual board that you're working on, being able to use your schematic as well as your board view. Now, if you are doing this, if you want to do this, if you're doing a repair like this one, if you don't have the understanding of how you can navigate through your schematic, it might be a problem. It might be a guesswork. You don't want to do guesswork. You want to be sure of exactly what you're doing. And then that way, if you can successfully navigate through one machine board view as well as the schematic, it means you can apply that knowledge across every machine that you come across. And then the same applies to your multimeter. For your multimeter, there are just couple of settings, or there are couple of know-how that you need on your multimeter. Number one, it's your voltage reading, how you can set your multimeter to voltage mode. And then number two, it's your diode mode reading, how you can use your multimeter for your diode mode reading. Number three is your continuity mode, how you can use your multimeter for continuity mode reading. And then number four will be your ohms, how you can set your multimeter to your ohms reading. Now, all of the voltages that you'll be reading on your board, as you know, your machine works on two power sources. In this case, I'm talking about your Mac now. You are looking at the power that will come from the charger as well as the power that will come from the battery. Now, whether it is the power that comes from your charger or the battery, it's going to be based on DC and not AC. Well, so what I mean is now we are now talking about making the measurements in your main board. I'm not talking about before that. I'm talking about in the actual board. So you need to be able to understand how to use your multimeter in this regard. Now, your board view will give you a visual idea of how you need to translate the data that you get from your schematic. So this is basically an introduction. I'll try as much as I can not to be too, and for this not to be too long. Now, in order for us to make sense of this, so I'm using an example of an A1502 board, which is a 2015 board. I'm just gonna see. This is it's our board view. So this is the board here. I'm gonna change. So also on the board view, there are two board views that I use. I use the Flex board view, which is a paid version, and then I use the open board view. Open board. Let me show you guys. This is the open board view. This is free, but the Flex board view you have to pay for it. So the Flex board view has more details. There are so much you can do on the flex board view that you may not be able to do on your flex. There's so much you can do on your flex board view that you may not be able to do on your open board view. So if you want to start doing this, you can use your board view. You don't have to worry about you don't have to you can use open board view. You don't have to get flex board view at the moment. You can start using open board view. So what I'm also going to do is I'll try to add a link to open board view. So in case you guys want to try that out, and you can actually download open board view without having to get flex board view. So when you are pretty much okay, you can work your way around it, then you can now consider getting a flex board view. It is worth noting that most of the newer boards, though, they work with an extension of the flex board view and not the open board view. So that said, I'm not going to be, so for this demonstration, I'm not going to be really using flexboard view. I'm not going to be using openboard view. I'm going to be using flexboard view. It doesn't really matter. We can use either or. So this is my board. So with the flexboard view, or with open board view, this is the board. Now you have two sides of the board. Now before anything else, let's if you look at the top here, it says, you see where it says 820-4924-A. Now 820, now this is every Apple board will have a board ID. So basically that is like your board number. Now your board number is going to, so the general so it's going to have two main categories: the 820, and then four, and then you have the 820 starting with 820 and then another category. So basically you have it, so in this case you have 820 dash 4924. Now that is the board number. You don't really have to worry about the alphabet that comes after the board number. What you really need is the four. You don't have to also worry about 820. That is general. They all start with 820, and then the main, it's after what comes after the 820 is what you should really worry yourself about. So when you want to download or when you want to buy a board view, so you want to start by typing 820 dash the number that you find on your board. Now it varies from board to board. So some boards you might find them in a particular location, and other boards you might find them in a different location. But you have to check your board to know what is so the board ID is not written it's not written on a paper or anything on the board. It's not written on a sticker. It's actually printed on the board itself. So there is no way of missing it. So what I mean, for example, if it's printed on a sticker, the chances of it being taken off is high, and then you may not really know the board ID. But in this case, because it's printed on the board, you can always find the board number. So basically, building our way up. First thing first, you need to try as much as you can to get an understanding of how to use a multimeter. Then the second part of it is you need to now be able to tell what type of board are you working on. Now, talking about the type of board you are working on, it has to also start from uh, the model number of that machine. It helps you in terms of in terms of being able to have an archive of like a database, so to say, in your head. So say for example the 820 dash that dash 4924, that is a 2015 A1502 machine. So the A1502, they have two designs. They have what I mean by two designs, you have the A1502 2013 2014, and the A1502, and then the refresh version of that, which was the last of its design, in 2015, which is now the A1502 2013 2014 will have a different board number. Now the A1502 2015, so they'll have a different board number to 2015. So the 2013 2014 they have the same. You can use the same board number for both 2013 2014 as one, and then 2015 will have a separate board number. Now in terms of you may be able to get around using a 2015 motherboard, a board view, if you do not have your 2013 2014 board view or schematic. They're pretty much similar, but it is always better to get the actual board view and the schematic when you are working on these devices. So you want to find out which is what is the model number of your board, and like the one that we have here, we can also see here it's 820-4924. That is the model number on your board. Now this board has two sides. You can flip it either ways. So I'm flipping it using my caps sorry, using my space bar, a space bar on my keyboard. So I can easily flip it using my space bar on my keyboard. So the one of the beauty of also having to have a board view is that it gives you an idea. It gives you knowledge about the components that you have that are mounted on your board, and then it also allow you to do visual troubleshooting. For example, if I have issues with my this board not reading, if say for example this board does not read the SSD, and obviously that would mean that I have confirmed that this SSD is actually, the issue is not a faulty SSD, and is actually on the board. By the way, there are many so sometimes if you have say if you flash the BIOS or the firmware, which is the SPI ROM chip on your board. If you have a higher version firmware flashed on it, it may cause you not to recognize the drive which had a lower firmware installed on it. So what that would mean is it will not detect the operating system, not that it will not necessarily detect the drive, because if you go on to your disk utility you will find the drive. So it just means you have to now reinstall the operating system on the drive in order to update the firmware on the drive, and then that way you will be able to boot the operating system on that machine. But that is something separate. So if I have confirmed that my issue it's that the board does not read the SSD, if I click here, for example, now this is the connector for the SSD. If I click on it, it will give me all of what I need. So now this is one of the beauty of your flex board view. It gives you more details that you will not find on your open board view. Let's just go to, so say for example this is my open board view. If I Let's go to the other side, and then I click on J3700, which is exactly the same thing we did click on. So you see on my right hand side, I don't have I yes, I have everything that I need. However, I get extra on my flex board view. So here, for example, I'm just going to click that again, J3700. So here it gives you not only it gives you also the direct value of what you get. So for example, here you get, it says OL, and then here you get direct values as well. And then also okay, but this is fine. You have your 3.3 volt. So that's just by the way. Now when I click on this will give me an idea of what I'm looking at and what I'm expecting. So if here it tells me now that my pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, pin 5, because they are all listed as the same thing, pp3v3 underscore SOSW underscore SSD underscore FLT. Now because I see that's the same thing that's repeated across from 1 to 5, that tells me that they are of the same. So which then mean that net that line, it's going to I'm going to have the same measurement on that line, and the voltage I'm expected to get on that line here, it says pp3v3. It means I'm expecting to get 3.3 volt. So when it says PP3 V3, it means I'm expecting to get 3.3 volt. Now, you will find that sometimes you have the voltages that are spelled out, or what you expected to find on the board will spelled out. And other times you might have a signal line that do not have the voltage spelled out. For example, SSD underscore reset underscore con underscore L. Now that is not spelled out, which is where you want to now compare the value of a working board. So in cases where you find yourself having a value that is not spelled out on your schematic or on the board view, so usually whatever you have on your board view is exactly what you find on your schematic. So for example, this is J3700. So let us go to our schematic. This is so we can type here J3700, J3700. Now J37, and so this is exactly the same. This is the connector that we're looking at. See where it says gum stick connector, and then down the page is going to tell us. It's going to give us a summary of what this page is about, which is where it says SSD connector. Now, so we talked about. Let's go back here. So we say, so it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are all the same line. And also, so these are, by the way, the voltage, and then you have the diode mode. So we go back here. So let's see here. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We see that. So now this point now one, so this dot here tells you that these lines are connected. They are one of the same. Now if we follow that line, so if we see here, don't worry about this, don't worry about this, you just need to follow the line. So if you see this 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now all of these are connected through this line, and you see the dot means that they are of the same line. If you follow that down, if you follow, so let's follow that down. We follow the line. Well, let's follow. Let me just zoom out. We follow the line down. We find the same thing here: 25, 26, 27, as well as so this line here and this line here are going to be connected as one. So which then, if we follow the same line up, let's follow the same line up. Let's follow the same line up. Now we follow the same line up. What we see that it is connected to this line here, which says, look at the voltage. It says 3.3 volt. So here it says 3.3 volt. Now look at the net description or the line description. It says pp3v3 underscore SOSW underscore SSD underscore FLT. That is the same thing that we saw here. This one here. That is the description of the line, or yeah. Yeah, so but now the vote, what we are going to worry ourselves about is going to be the voltage, which is 3.3 volt. Now what it means is, now if we follow that up, we will see this dot. Now if we follow that to my right, it goes to R3700, which then means that I must have, even though here it says no stuff, which means that the R3700 is not found on the board. Now if this was found on the board, now because I have 3.3 volt being connected here, it means I will have 3.3 volt if my charger is connected, and if the board is in the state where 3.3 volt can be detected. So for example, here it says 3.3 volt underscore SO underscore S underscore switch underscore SSD. Now SO is a state where when this can be present. So which means, for example, if my board is in S5 state, I will not be able to, my 3.3 volt will not be present, because it's not in the state where 3.3 volt can be present. So let's go back to where we were. So here, so what I was talking about, so it gives you a visual understanding of how you can troubleshoot and get an understanding of what you are looking at. So What I'm also going to try to do in the series is I'll try to take pages. Try to take page by page, and then so how do you relate your schematic to your board view? It's very simple. How you do that is, so this is my board view. Yes. So you get information from your board view, from your schematic, to translate it into your board view, and then you do that vice versa. For example, you see what we did here. So we needed to have a better understanding of, we needed to get more details on your J3700. We had to go to the schematic to type J3700, and then it gave us the page for J3700. And so this is basically about J3700, and then we can work our way around J3700. Now, typically, traditionally, you will find that's not all the case. That the input signals will come from the left, and the output signals will go from the right. That is the case, but that's not all the case. That's not always the case. For example, here you have SSD power enable being coming in from the right, and then so here, and then also here you have most of you see most of the signals here, they are saying in. Now, but it's traditionally, you will find that the right hand side, on your right hand side you will have your input, and then on your left hand side you will have your output. So if I want to say, for example, I want to search for where this signal is on my board. So I just, what I do is I will alight, I will highlight the net name, which is the name on the line of what I'm trying to. So there are two things here now. If I want to, so if I say, for example, here I see I have a capacitor. The capacitor, it has we have pin one, pin two. Now, because of the way this capacitor is drawn, this is in non this is a non-polarized capacitor because of the way it's drawn. This is non-polarized. And then if I want to have an idea of where, so this is, I see the schematic. Yes, I know that this is C3718, but my question is, where is C3718? How do I find C3718? There are two ways you can find C3718. You can copy the net name that is attached to that component, or you can copy you can copy the name. You can also copy the disk. What am I saying? So you can either copy the net name of that component, or you can also copy the chip ID of the component, which is, in this case, is going to be C3718. Now, that chip ID, so the chip ID that I'm referring to, it's only for the schematic and the board view. So, for example, if you type C3718 on your Google, you may not be able to find this particular but for the purpose of the board view, for this particular purpose, you will be able to use C3718 across the schematic as well as the board view. So if I want to find C3718, I can either use this the net name, which is I just highlight it, and then I copy, and then I go to my board view, and then I go to search. I go to search, and then where it says part search, I can do that. I'm going to show you how. So, and then I paste. So it gives, then I paste that. I can also do that on my on my open board view. So where's my open board view? I come here, and then I go to search. You can also use shortcut to do that. So I paste, and then I click on search. So what it's going to do is, it's now you see all of the dots that you see there. Now those are where you, so you see where, you see those are where PP3V3 is going to be present on the board. So obviously we find that it's very much present on J3700, which is the SSD connector. Now everywhere that you see it, let's see, everywhere, let's just try that. Let's do that again. Search, it's already there. We just click on search. Now, so everywhere you see that, that is where that rail, that is where the net, or the signal that we just copied, that is where you will find it on the board. So we see that we have it here, and then let's flip the board to the other side, and then we have more of it on the other side. Now let's go to our flexboard view, and it's going to be exactly the same thing. We click on search, and it will give us all of the places where now also, if you look at the flexboard view, for example, when I over onto a particular line, you see it tells me that this is is exactly the same thing. So no biggie. Yeah, so then so you have it tells you that this is where you, everywhere you see that representation, that dot is where you will find the 3.3 volt. And then if we, let's just go back here. So remember, we're looking for C3718. So let's say C3718, this is C3724, C3726, C37. Let's go to the other side of the board. Let's flip it. C3718. Okay, here you have C3718. Now and then you see clearly that pin 1 of C3718 is going to have pp3v3 underscore so. Obviously that should be when the device is in so state. And then you have pin 2 being ground. So here, so like I said, if I type C3718, that will give me a pinpoint. It will pinpoint exactly the capacitor for me, and also where I will find the capacitor. So here now, now if I so this is our C3718. Now if I have any type of measurements to do here, then I can easily come to the board and then make the measurement here. So this is just basically an introductory introduction. So we are going to go over how you can read the schematic, how you can understand the schematic. So this is how I do it. So I will try as much as I can to basically to simplify it, so that anybody can be able to get an understanding of how this is done. And the beauty of this is, if you understand it by your own self, you can actually do wonders. So if you understand it, you can build on it. If you understand it, you can expand on it. If you understand, so what we are going to do is we will try as much as we can to go from page to page. So let me say, let's go back to page 1. So page, now this is going to be the list of everything you expected to have on the board view. So here under here it says page 1 of 120, and then the sheets you have 1 of 82 sheets. So you have the pages, you have 120, and then the sheets you have 82 sheets. So what we are going to do, I'm also going to go over how you can because it looks all it looks for example, if we are to go over the pages. Now these are all of the pages. If you are just going to scroll through the pages, it may not really make sense to you. You ask yourself, what am I looking at? How do I really use this to solve my problem? So this is actually very, very easy. All you just need to do is to have a little bit of the know-how, and once you get the know-how, it is fun, it is interesting, and it is very, very easy. So I suppose that is the last of it. Now it is fun, it is interesting, and it is very, very easy. All you need to do is for you to just get a bit of understanding of how you can navigate through your schematic and your board view. And I can tell you, if you can master, once you are able to master how to use your multimeter, how you master how to use your schematic, how to read your schematic properly, and then translate that into your board view, I can tell you the work is going to be amazing for you. And then when you now follow it up with proper informed troubleshooting, then you will realize that every job you will do every job just like a breeze. Now that is not to say that so it the funny thing about the repair, it's the challenge. Sometimes you get a very challenging repair, and other times you get a fairly simple repair. But in all, it's fun. The one that you get easy, It's a form of it will go onto your archive, and then the ones that comes to be very difficult, it's also going to be it basically prepares you, and it's part of your education, or it's part of your training onto the next one. So I'm trying not to make this too long. This is supposed to be an introductory series. So guys, let me know what you guys think about it. Yeah, so and then I'm obviously gonna start building on this. I'm gonna I took a break also from making repair videos. I'm gonna start soon. Yeah, it's been long that I made repair videos, so I'm gonna start that soon. But also, I see many people really want to see and understand how do you use your schematic and your board view. This is like a question that people usually ask. And sometimes some people, they have basic understanding in terms of, okay, I see 3.3 volt here, I know I'm going to get 3.3 volt. But then how do I differentiate between a rail and the signal? How do I understand? How do I translate the state of a signal? A very common example is a reset L. So a very common example is reset L. So let's type SMC underscore reset L. So SMC underscore reset on this. Okay, yeah, so that there we go. So this is a signal, this is a signal that is being asserted. So if you check the line here, by the way, you see here where it says 47, 40, 39, 71, and 54. Now that says that you will find this signal on all of these pages: 47, 40, 39, 71, and 54. Now here it says that it is a signal that is going in. Now this is a signal, and the signal has no identification. It has no net description in terms of the voltage, the net voltage description. So now this signal is supposed to be 3.3 volt. It's supposed to be high. Now, so a common example of this is, what does this mean? Now it says SMC underscore reset underscore L. L here will stand for low. Now what it simply means is SMC will be in reset state when this line is low, which is when it gets less than what is required. Typically will be, for example, 0 volt or 0.1 volt or 1 point something volt, less than 3 point something, less than the threshold for that line. So which is typically, you get sometimes 2 point something volt or 1 point something volt or 0 volt. Now if you find if it's lower than that, then this line, this will cause will result in a reset state. Do you guys, you get what I'm trying to say? So this is just a typical example. Now SMC underscore reset underscore L. Now what it means is this, in order to prevent your SMC from going into reset mode, which would then mean that you have a non-functioning board at the moment that the SMC is in reset mode. You need to have this line has to be high. You need to have a high voltage here, which in this case is going to be 3.4 volt. Now, the funny thing is here it doesn't say. Do you understand? And then also another thing is, you see how you have a ball here and you have a straight line here. You probably ask yourself, but wait, is this going in, or is it bouncing off? No, this is going in. This is how they. So you probably might feel like, okay, but wait, here I get like a joint here. Now in this case, this is another very typical one. So this is a bi-directional line. So a bidirectional line. So here you have just in, so which then means that the system here, it's dependent on what comes in order to then translate and then take it further from there. However, a bidirectional line will be dependent on both sides. It's dependent on what it gets as a feed and what comes into that feed. So it's a bidirectional line. So okay, so let me not dive too much into that. as we go in, as we explain page. So in this series we are going to explain page by page. So we will take whatever I guess whatever you guys want us to take as a case study. I'm just choosing a 1502 as my introduction, but whatever you guys want as a case study, we'll take that, and then we will finish through we'll finish through all of the pages, explaining each and every page. And then that way, but then we will use that, we will use it directly with your board, so that I'm talking about the board view, so that it makes sense. We don't just go through it blankly and then without it making sense. So yeah, and there's so much that I want to start talking about, but it's gonna lose the scope of the introduction, which is it's supposed to be short. So let me just skip it. I'm excited, really. I'm excited, guys. Yeah, and then I hope you guys are also excited, and I really hope that Biiznillah, you guys are able to benefit from it. And then I hope that it's also a form of a benefit for myself as well. And as always, thank you guys for tuning in. And then I will see you guys. I really like to see what you guys say about this new line of series that we're about to make. So basically, just to sum it up, we are going to be going over your schematic. We will pick any of the machine to use as a case study, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Touch Bar, non-Touch Bar, whatever, to use as our case study. And we will go through three main aspects. We'll be looking at your multimeter, we'll be looking at your board view, and we'll be looking at your schematic. And we will try to especially focusing on your schematic, and we will try to explain page by page, page by page. But then, that in order for that to make sense, we need to pair that with our board view. And we hope that by the time we start from the first page onto the last page, we would have been able to cover enough that whenever any one of us wants to do any type of troubleshooting, they can open up their board view and just and their schematic, and they will be able to do justice to it. Now, if you really want to do this well, you need to be able to use your multimeter, you need to be able to use your schematic, you need to be able to use your board view. Thank you guys. I will see you guys in the next one.